Hello everybody and welcome back to Mental Health Mondays. So today we are going to be chatting about feeling overwhelmed. Overwhelm is something that I experience quite frequently, and I wanted to compile a list of tips for you guys if you are in the same boat. I feel like recently just a lot of things to do with life have been getting on top of me, and I've got myself into quite anxious, like overwhelmed states that have been really hard to like bring myself down from. So ideally we want to stop ourselves from getting to that stage of overwhelm, but that's easier said than done, because when you're feeling overwhelmed and you feel like there's just so much that maybe you need to do, you're feeling like so many emotions, it can seem like a very high mountain to climb. But I think with my tips and with what I want to say in this video is that it is all about the small steps that we can take to get us out of this overwhelmed headspace. Whatever it is, if you're just generally feeling overwhelmed in life, if your depression or your anxiety or whatever mental illness it is making you feel this way, then these tips are for you. So carry on watching and we're gonna just jump straight into them. So number one is to get things into perspective. Often when we feel overwhelmed, it's because we're overthinking loads of different little things. I like to almost zoom out of the situation and actually like look at what it is that is making me feel this way. Now, when you're in a state of panic or when you're at the height of feeling overwhelmed, this is difficult to do. But one of my favorite things to do is it sounds crazy every time I say this, but think about life on a greater scale. Think about how strange it is, and I don't want to, whoa, the sun's coming out. I don't want to sound like one of these people that's like, we're just like, oh, tiny little human beings floating on a big rock. But when you think about the grand scale of the universe, and when you think about life outside of your current state, if you get what I mean, things start to come into perspective, and the things that you're dealing with don't seem as small. Like, if you think about it, is this task or is this thought gonna be bothering me in a month's time, in a year's time? I always talk about being the observer of your thoughts, because it's so important to take a step back and like get out of your head, if that makes sense. The second tip is to acknowledge how you feel. Acknowledge, I feel overwhelmed right now, and tell yourself that it is okay to be overwhelmed. We all get it, especially with how the world is at the moment. We all are feeling overwhelmed a lot of the time, you know? So allowing yourself to feel overwhelmed is so important, because I feel like a lot of the time we try and fight it, and it is important to just let it be. The third tip is to ask yourself what you need. What do you need in this moment? Is it time with friends? Is it time alone? Is it that you need, this is my personal one right now, you need more fun in your life, because my life seems very dull right now and everything just seems like very overwhelming? Or is it that you might need to get some help with your mental health? It might be an idea to just like have a conversation with yourself, look at what you actually need in your life right now to be able to move through this overwhelm. And number four is to take some time out to do something fun and creative, because I feel like when we feel overwhelmed, I don't know about you, but I just freeze. I'm just like, can't get out of this mindset. My thoughts are on a loop, usually a negative loop, and I'm just like stuck in anxiety usually. One of the things that recently I found really helpful to do is to move when you are in that situation, whether that be you put your favorite song on you and you dance around your bedroom, or if you want to do yoga or read a book. Might be a little bit hard to concentrate, but if you enjoy reading, definitely something to do. Make a mood board. Make a mood board of whatever it is you want it to be. It doesn't have to be like a future mood board. Just make a mood board of something nice. Anything creative, like do a crossword puzzle, do an actual puzzle. Just remove yourself from the situation. And if you can remove yourself physically from the situation, whether that be like going for a walk or like going to visit somewhere, then great. Go and do that. Number 5 is to speak to a friend about how you feel, / speak to your family. the other night I had an incident where I got myself into a really bad headspace, and I was kind of ignoring everyone, and my friend had messaged me saying, look, like, I'm here if you want to call me, and I was like, I'm just not really sure, I want to talk. And then I thought, do you know what, fuck it, like, I'm just gonna call her and I'm gonna tell her like everything that's on my mind. And honestly, I felt so much better after speaking to her, because I was just so anxious and so in my own head, and I got someone else's perspective on my situation, and it just really helps. So speak to someone, whether that be online, like for a phone call, text, whatever it is. Like, sometimes I think it's better to just get your thoughts out there, and they don't necessarily have to give you advice. It so happened that the friend I called was very good at giving me advice. Number 6 is to write things down. I'm a massive advocate for journaling and getting all my feelings out on a page, because I feel like when they're in your head, they can feel a bit scrambled and they can be floating around and they can be whatever. Like, writing down, even if it's just words about what it is that you're feeling overwhelmed about, makes it kind of just something that you can see and something that you might be able to then tackle. Not right in that moment, you don't have to, but writing it down really helps me. The next tip is to remember your progress, because I feel like when we're in this mindset, we think everything's the end of the world at that current moment, and we often forget how far we've come. And it's so important to remind yourself just how far you've come in your mental health recovery. Like, for me, I'll like go downhill a bit, I'll start to feel overwhelmed with everything, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in this headspace, I'm supposed to be this strong person, I'm supposed to be okay, blah blah blah, like, this is the end of the world, I'm like gonna relapse. And then I'm like, okay, Maddie, you're actually dealing with things a lot better than you would have in the past. For example, the overwhelming situation I had the other night, I could have acted on it very impulsively and done something stupid, but instead I chose to, like, this took a lot for me to do, instead I chose to lie down in my bed and do, like, I did about 3 anxiety meditations. Kind of helped. It definitely like brought me down. I will always remember the wave analogy about how your emotions are like waves, and when your emotions are heightened and when you feel overwhelmed, it does seem like the end of the world, but they'll always come crashing down. Like, the emotions will always release, and you will always like come back down to a space where it still might feel uncomfortable for you, but it's less overwhelming. Number 8 is to take action. Just think of one step that you can take to address anything it is that you're feeling overwhelmed about. For me, when I feel overwhelmed, like I said earlier, I just freeze, and that's fine. We need to allow ourselves to feel the emotions and sit with them, etc. But also, nothing's going to get resolved if you just sit around worrying about it. Taking a small step to move you forward and get something done is going to be so helpful, because I find often as soon as I do one small step to do something, it then kind of catapults me into like getting other stuff done. For example, this morning I hadn't done my dishes and I hadn't done like cleaning off the house or like sorting things out and putting stuff away for a while, and I just thought this morning I'll just like do a couple of dishes, and it kind of then just led into me like just sorting things out automatically. It allowed me to do that. By doing this, you're taking control of the situation and you're not letting this overwhelm rule your life anymore, and you can kind of look a little bit more clearly into, okay, like, what actually is it that I need to be doing. Tip number 9 is to reframe your situation. Again, this is a hard one. In many situations, I feel like, and this is kind of when we're actually like doing something about it and we're at the other end of it, but see it as a lesson. Almost see the overwhelm as a challenge, to be like, okay, I can do it, I can tackle these things. Life has decided to throw me in at the deep end and I feel like I'm literally drowning, but actually I am going to learn something from this. I am going to get these things done and I'm going to feel better. And the final tip is to be kind to yourself. So important to show yourself self-compassion. Needless to say, self-care is so important when you feel overwhelmed. When I feel overwhelmed, I find it very hard to look after myself. Everything goes down the drain, my sleep, my eating, like taking care of myself, showering, whatever it is. But like I said at the beginning, it's all about doing small steps. Break things down into very small chunks to be able to do things to look after yourself. taking a shower, like the first step to taking a shower is actually walking to the shower. I felt too overwhelmed to cook last week, so instead I just went to Tesco's and bought loads of ready meals, and there's literally no shame in doing that, because otherwise I wouldn't have eaten anything that was nourishing for me, and that's fine. You just have to, you know, adapt to your situation and show yourself love, and don't shame yourself for whatever you're doing to try and pick yourself up and bring yourself out of this. So I really hope that these tips have helped you. Please let me know down below if they did. I'm sending love to all of you who are in this current overwhelming headspace, because it's not fun, but you will get out of it and you will get better. Like, it always subsides, and we always move through things, and it makes us stronger. I will see you in 2 weeks time for my next Mental Health Monday, and until then, goodbye.